Latinos en Acción con Yesenia Taveras es su programa con informaciones locales en salud, leyes, negocios, educación y más. Latinos en Acción con Yesenia Taveras es el único programa para la comunidad latina en Delaware. Hola, yo soy Yesenia Taveras. En este programa de Latinos en Acción con Yesenia Taveras, voy a presentar partes de cada programa que yo he hecho este año. Latinos en Acción con Yesenia Taveras es el primer programa en español en la historia de este canal WITN 22. Mi programa se concentra en entrevistar a los consejeros de gobierno, a los líderes de la comunidad, artistas y personas interesadas en la comunidad latina. Latinos en Acción con Yesenia Taveras informa a la audiencia latina de Delaware de tópicos sobre la educación, leyes de gobierno, eventos que pasan en la comunidad y más. Más de 20 años el Centro Latino ha estado honrando a los estudiantes hispanos de Delaware que dan lo mejor en lo académico, servicio, comentarios y voluntarios, deportes, artes, matemáticas, ciencia y el estudiante más sobresaliente del año.
En Wilmington yo estoy haciendo arte y por eso fui reconocida para el club de Aspira. Para mí significa mucho ser hispana por mi familia y no me da vergüenza de decirle a la gente de dónde soy y estoy muy agradecida por lo que hacemos los hispanos en este estado.
Los 152 estudiantes hispanos de clase media y secundaria en Delaware que mantuvieron un promedio de punto de grado acumulativo de 3.0 o más alto.
Lo que toman para ser un gran estudiante no solamente tener buena nota, pero hacer un esfuerzo para poder alcanzar los metas que uno tiene.
Los estudiantes compitieron por un premio en sus respectivos condados. La música de Omar Sosa es un estilo único del jazz afrocubano. Nacido y criado en Camagüey, Cuba, Omar creció oyendo la música de jazz latino que su padre le gustaba escuchar. Por la libertad y la expresividad de esta música fue lo que lo cultivó. Omar estudió la música afrocubano folclórica y la música clásica europea. Él se entrega a su música con su alma y movimientos. En las canciones de Omar encontramos los instrumentos africanos y medio orientes y una combinación de idiomas en árabes, inglés, portugués, español y yoruba. ¿Qué hiciste para crear su estilo?
¿Qué he hecho para crear mi estilo? Bueno, primero escuchar las voces de los espíritus de los ancestros que te dicen cuál es el camino. Y bueno, soy santero y creo que la conexión con mis ancestros es lo que hace posible que la música que llegue a mí tenga esa identidad, solo eso.
Las influencias y las inspiraciones de Omar son tan diversas como su música. ¿Por qué su trabajo se basa en la tradición africana?
¿Por qué mi trabajo se basa en la tradición africana? Primero, bueno, mira, mis raíces, una de mis raíces es África y creo que casi toda la música que escuchamos de una manera u otra viene de África, porque es el continente más antiguo. Y creo que para mí África es como la bandera de mi corazón, ¿no? África para mí es todo. Entonces, lo único que puedo hacer es darle gracias y rendirle homenaje a cada momento con la música que hago.
Escuchando los músicos cubanos fue que Omar se interesó. ¿Cuándo comenzaste tu trabajo en la música de jazz?
Cuando empecé la música de jazz, yo te diría que fue cuando tenía 18 años. Ahora tengo 45. Sí, todavía puedo luchar. Y siempre me gustó el jazz, porque en mi casa, en Cuba, en Camagüey, en mi ciudad, siempre escuchábamos, los domingos escuchábamos Nat King Cole, Duke Ellington, y tomábamos ron, cerveza, y eso me quedó siempre. Y para mí, el tener la oportunidad de intentar tocar un poco la música alrededor de ese estilo fue como un reto. Y bueno, a los 18 años empecé y todavía sigo empezando a los 45.
Omar es profundamente espiritual. Él cubre su piano con un paño rojo de afuera hacia adentro. También prende velas y trata de escuchar las voces de sus antepasados. ¿Cómo tú transmites la música afrocubana entre la música de jazz?
Bueno, yo creo que son dos cosas que están unidas. La música afrocubana y el jazz yo diría que son hermanos. O son hermanos o hermanas. y simplemente es dejar que la tradición llegue y mostrar las dos tradiciones juntas en algún momento, y ellas fluyen sin buscar ninguna presión, todo que camine.
My first question to you before we get into the bulk of our interview is if you can briefly give us a background of your ethnicity. Where did you come from? Where are your parents from? Just briefly tell us about your family background and yourself as well.
Well, we are from Puerto Rico. My parents were born and raised in Puerto Rico. They decided to move to Delaware right before I was born because they wanted a better life. You know, Puerto Rico, it was hard in Puerto Rico, and they needed to find a better job, so they migrated here, and this is where I was conceived.
My parents, actually, my mother's from Puerto Rico, my father's from Dominican Republic, and they were actually in the same boat as your parents were. They moved here to New York, and at a very young age, looking for that American dream to get a job and accomplish what they can for the family. And one common thing that you'll find in our cultural background is that there are a lot of hardships, barriers that we faced. And with that being said, are there any hardships or barriers that you face being raised here in Wilmington?
The answer to that question is yes. I had to deal with a lot of hardships. A lot of people have to deal with a lot of hardships. I had to deal with, of course, my parents who weren't in the right mindset. You know, they came here to live a better life, but instead of making their life better, their life didn't get better, it got worse. I love them, I will always love them, but as far as them making my life easier, they didn't. You know, I had to deal with them using drugs. I had to watch a lot of abusing. I had to deal with the violence every weekend. I had to deal with me going from one family member's house to another because they couldn't, you know, take care of me. So, you know, I went through a lot of barriers that a lot of people go through, and I don't consider myself any different or any better than anybody else, but as far as my barriers and my obstacles that I had to face, I'm just glad I got to overcome them.
In our culture, there's a lot of things that we face. There's the domestic violence, the men usually typically abusing the women and things of that nature. However, you saw these things at an early age. At the age of 11, you left your mother's house to live with your father, and then at the age of 14, you left your father's house to move in with your sister. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience of this instability, moving from one household to the other, trying to just basically maintain and sustain yourself in the type of environment that you were living and being brought up in?
Well, thank God that through it all, I had the Boys and Girls Club. You know, I started attending here when I was 8. So at the same time, while I was moving from one household to another, I was coming here. And I had the voice of my sister telling me to keep going to school. I had the club helping me do my homework every day. They made sure that I was on, you know, I was so insecure at the time, you know, I didn't have no stable place. But I knew that I had a stable place here. So I can rely on coming here whether or not I was at my mom's or whether or not I was at my dad's or my sister's or my cousins or my brother's. I knew that I can come here.
Overcoming these hardships was a great challenge. However, you bypassed every distraction that could possibly be faced, and you graduated from Howard High School of Technology here in Wilmington. Now, statistics show that Hispanics usually don't graduate from high school. They either drop out from the 9th grade or 10th grade year, but you bypassed all that and you beat the odds and you went ahead and maintained straight A's throughout your high school career and you graduated. Can you tell us about your experience in maintaining your focus and actually beating the odds and graduating as a young Hispanic woman here in Wilmington, Delaware?
I always told myself I'm not gonna be this type way. I'm never gonna end up in a predicament where I can't pick myself back up or I can't do what I have to do for myself, let alone me not being able to do for someone else. So me going to school every day, it's like I had it like me getting my good grades, me going to school and receiving good grades, I felt good about. That made me, that built my self-esteem up when everything else wasn't as caught up as I wanted it to be. But as far as me bringing home straight A's and me showing it to the Boys and Girls Club and me showing it to my sister and them being proud of how I'm receiving my straight A's and that made me want to keep going. That made me want to keep going to school. I found, you know how someone usually needs to find that thing or that place that makes them feel good or that makes them feel wanted and that encouraged them to keep going? Well, coming here and showing my grades to my sister, that's what kept me going.
Delsy, a lot of Hispanics feel like they have to be at a place where there's a lot of people who look like them and who understand their cultural background. However, you came to the Clarence Frame Boys and Girls Club. Now, can you speak to us a little bit about how the Boys and Girls Club was that safe haven for you and what it did for you as far as accomplishing any goal that you had set out for yourself?
Well, one suggestion that I should say is that anywhere you feel that your child will be safe and your child will be comfortable is the right place for your child. Because nobody knows, you know, if they're more comfortable at a different organization than the Boys and Girls Club, that's fine. I was brought up here. This was the closest place I can walk to from home. Not only was the closest place, I was surrounded by so many people that I knew and that loved me, whether they were Hispanic, whether they were non-Hispanic, they were here and they were here for me. And all the other members that, you know, come here. And I also was able to meet friends that weren't Hispanic. I was also able to learn things that instead of me being in a Hispanic or, you know, a Hispanic organization, I was able to learn more. Not just Hispanic, you know, culture.
There's a lot of young children right now and young adults who are watching right now and listening to your story. However, they still feel like they're stuck in a rut and can't go anywhere, or they might not have the motivation or that role model or that guardian to help push them that extra mile. What advice or words of encouragement would you give that individual who is watching you right now and is trying to overcome a hardship or obstacle in their life?
I would tell that Hispanic person, I would tell them never to give up. That there's a whole bunch of opportunities out there. There's a whole bunch of people willing to help. You just have to reach out and you have to ask for it. You should never be scared to ask. That was one of my downfalls. I was scared to open up. I was scared to say, I need help. I'm stuck. You should never feel that way. You should never feel like there's nobody out there, because there's always someone out there for you. And you should never give up no matter what, because despite what you're going through, I think everything gets worse before it gets better.